This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 404, recorded on May 30th, 2019. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way to your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a stormy, I think, Mike, the Midwest, something like 12 or 13 days in a row. We talked a little bit about it last week, but like severe weather, I don't know if we've done a 2-week stretch like that in a while. Do you remember having a severe weather, not here, but somewhere in the Midwest every day for like 12 or 13 days?
No, nothing like this. Everyone knows that Nebraska had that terrible flooding that came through, right? And then now so that closed Interstate I-29 between Omaha and Kansas City, which I-29 is the major interstate, runs north-south here along the Nebraska border. And it had finally, after months, opened back up. And this recent rain, it's closed right back down again. It's all flooded. Actually, I was on weatherchannel.com, and the main video on there, the main news story was actually the Nebraska City exit off of I-29, and it looks like a lake again.
Well, we are, hopes and thoughts go out to those affected by the tornadoes. I think of our friends down in Texas and Oklahoma.
And Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas and Kansas City got nailed. So our friends out in Indiana and Illinois and out in Ohio have been hit recently. So hopefully everyone listening to this has been safe. We hope wish the best for you. Of course, we'll post a show with world-class show notes. Not a ton of them this week, but some out at the AverageGuy.tv. Don't forget, you can join us live on the app. Easiest way to get that, homegadgetgeeks.com, Android, iPhone, download it, subscribe. Super easy at that point. It's either streaming. No, it's only streaming. Excuse me, when you get out there. So download it. We want to thank our Patreon subscribers for those who help us pay for that app each and every year. Great way to listen on the road and get it streamed no matter where you're at. And appreciate those who help support it. Don't forget, join us in the Discord group. Many of you had. I think we're a little under 100. And really, till we get to 200, guys, I'll be honest with you, there's going to be some slow moments in the group. So I've seen a few of you post things like, it's crickets in here. And well, okay, yeah, it kind of is. But there's just not enough people to keep it active all the time. So bear with us as we kind of get that going. Or just know there'll be some crickets from time to time. Crickets aren't bad. It means time to go to bed. Like when you hear the crickets, like, hey, okay, maybe it's time to go to bed. So join us at the AverageGuy.tv/Discord, and you can get in there as well. Big thanks goes out to last week, my daughter, Sammy, as she wants people to call her. I call her Samantha because I'm her dad. But Sammy came on, did a bang-up job. I got a ton of comments from you listeners out there who just many of you really enjoyed her take on things. Mike, I think you thought it was pretty great.
I thought it was great. I love getting her take, and because I think it was a insider's perspective, right? Or in a very, I saw it as a very optimistic perspective, which is great when, that's not what we hear all the time about the journalism industry.
Yeah, no, it was good to have her on, and she just did a great job from beginning to end. Very, very comfortable, very smooth, talked very well. She's very introverted, and I do find, as I interview people around the world, some of the best who you would think, oh yeah, podcasters, you got to be extroverted. You and I are both pretty extroverted, right?
Right.
But she's very introverted, and she just it would have been hard to tell if you didn't know that. If I didn't say it, it'd be hard to tell. And she just did a great job. She had a ton of fun. So thanks for your notes. I've been sharing your tweets with her and the various things you've said on Facebook and such. Sarah finally got a chance to listen to it today and really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as well. So we'll have her back on maybe a couple times this summer. Talk about more things than just journalism, but certainly she'll bring a very journalistic approach to what we do. Mike, in the Facebook group this week, Brian, and I think it's Bolich. Am I pronouncing that right, Brian? He's out there in the chat room tonight, or at least he said he might be doing that. But Brian asked a note. He said, who here owns or knows of a photo image scanner that is that's a USB 3.0 or has a USB input? Most I've seen are sold was still at 2.0. Surely 3.0 USB or higher would be a game changer. Yeah, and Because I went out and looked at those, Brian. I didn't see many 2.0s. Actually, I saw some of the newer ones. The newer 3.0s, though. So, Mike, the one I want to look at, and the one, because I thought about buying one of these kind of for the network at one point in time. Many of us have, maybe not you, but many of those in my age probably have picture books, have photo albums that still have photos from the 80s and 90s. We started getting digital cameras 2000 in there. They started getting better 2005. And of course, we forget the iPhone really changed, like began to get significant improvements, right? When the
It
iPhone
really did. Well, in the first iterations of digital cameras, at least for my family, storage was still limited on people's computers. And so a lot of times people were taking on digital because you could delete and retake. That was the benefit. But they were still taking those digital photos and going and getting them printed into physical prints because they, storage and then storage and storage started to get cheaper, iPhone. Then it really changed into storing your photos digitally, not just taking digital photos. Really changed right around there.
And those early digital cameras were terrible, just to be honest. I mean, like, you could take digital photos with them, but they were just awful. You get them back and you'd be like, oh, like this isn't, coming off of, we had in the 80s, we kind of came off the peak, I think, the peak of photography from a film perspective. So you could get really good, fast, you take pictures, put those things in a envelope, drop them at a photo booth or mail them in. There were a bunch of mail-in photo services, and I should have, if I'd have done my research for the show ahead of time, I would have been able to list some of those off. But I had some of those envelopes. You would get them by mail. Snapfish, I think, was probably the most popular one. And you'd mail them in, they'd come back with the pictures. And in the later years, they would send you digital copies as well, right? So we kind of had that cut over. Well, I still have, Mike, dozens, hundreds, maybe even 1,000, maybe more, of pictures that we need digitalized or digitized. And I was like, maybe I'll buy one of these. And so the Epson Fast Photo FF 680W is the one I was looking at. And one of my thoughts was I'd buy it. It's $530.
I was going to say they're expensive.
This is not your typical scanner, right? That you're going to get for $99. I don't think anybody buys those anymore, just to be 100% honest. But I thought about buying one of those for the network and saying, hey, I'll buy this using Patreon funds that we have available. And folks can just send me your pictures and I'll run them through. This particular one, super fast. It will scan up at 300 DPI. Let's see. Let me make sure I get this right. It scans like 1 a second or something like that. So it offers 300 DPI modes called easy sharing. So if you just want to rip them, get them done, 300 DPI. Archiving at 600 is available, and then enlarging at 1200 DPI. Handles multiple sizes all in one batch. It handles pictures, small pictures, Polaroids, postcards, anything kind of that size. Maybe even some 4x6 oversized pictures. I think that's the biggest size. Oh, actually, at this point, it says scanning up to 8.5 inches wide for each one of those pictures. So pretty great. In USB 3, it is also is Wi-Fi and is pretty fast to across your network. I think, Mike, as I was looking at these, I think this is kind of the one, as I kind of looked at all of them, and it's on a Saturday afternoon, I think this is kind of the one I'd land on. Now, let me ask you, how many do you have? Many? Do you guys have, you and Hannah, do you guys have many photos?
No, we have 0. We will print some out to hang in our house, but no, we have 0. My parents have a ton in the basement. We have tubs of those photos, though. And my parents actually do have, I think it's that along that same line, that Epson. And those are really great. They really do crank through. I feel like, Jim, we had this conversation in the past, and you had the same idea. Was actually to get one for the community. And I think before, though, the idea was to send it around and people could use it and then, pass along to the next person. I think so. I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe the last time we brought this up. But yeah, you definitely want the speed. And I would suggest going with at least 600 DPI. My mom and I have archived a few of the things, especially, around, when someone passes away, usually you go gather all the photos, load them in to make a book or a movie or whatever. And so we've done that. And I think 600 would be about the minimum that I would do. And then on the ones you do know you want to blow up, do obviously the 1200 DPI. But yeah, those things crank through the photos pretty fast. You could dedicate, a day to it and get through quite a few.
Yeah, I'd like to get mine in, just to be honest. We've got them, and I'd love to get them in and stored somewhere. It's one of those things that I've got we have plenty of pictures online. I'll be honest, most of my really good photos are on Facebook. Like, that's just kind of where they seem to end up, right?
Yeah.
I don't go pull them down. Does Facebook have an archiving? Can you go and...
I believe you can, and download an archive of all your data, and I think it'll include photos.
Okay.
I'm not sure on the quality you get.
I'm getting a little pixelization from you, by the way. I don't know if that's you or me. It could be. I hope it's not me. It's probably Sammy up there watching. But Sarah's probably streaming.
Looks like my upload is fine, as it usually would be. But I guess we'll ask the chat room to see if they're having trouble with me too.
Who's seeing? I bet it's me. I bet it's me. I'll have to be like, guys, I only podcast 1 week, and that's not true. One night a week, and that's not totally true. But so here's some interesting thoughts. One, if you're interested, like if this would help you, kind of the current thought is pick it up. And then for our Patreon subscribers, if you've been a Patreon subscriber, if you want to join on the Patreon side, I just do it for you. It'd be one of those kinds of things. Send them to me. Can't guarantee any speed or that they'd be done overnight, but we would drop them in there, shoot them through, drop them out to the MediaFire account. You could come and grab them and download them in. For those who aren't Patreon subscribers, just become one. And that same kind of service could be available to you. If I get enough interest in this, so if you think you're interested in that, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. If you think you're interested in that, let me know. And maybe I'll consider it. It'd be kind of fun. I've got some to do on my own. I think it would be, it's going to cost you a little bit to box up your photos, send them to me. It'd also be good before we start something, I guess, let me know how many photos you have.
Yeah.
Of course, the more you send, the more there would be. But Mike, there's oftentimes at night, I've got a few minutes to drop some things. These things I think will hold maybe 50 at a time, and find some way to drop them. And they probably wouldn't all come at the same time, So Brian says the video's fine there, so maybe it's just me. So let me know, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we know Mike won't have to worry about it because he didn't have any photos.
Zero.
But Mike, you're I think you're the exception, just to be honest with you.
Well, maybe not for my age group though, right? Because I'm 28. Yeah. So I think for me, digital cameras have been around even since I was young enough to take photos. In high school, really was when you start really taking those photos. I've had digital. So I think most people my age don't have any print photos besides the one we've printed for frames. But my parents, like I said, have a ton. Yeah. So if you look at my childhood is printed out in photos, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just like to get some of them protected and uploaded somewhere.
Right.
It would give me reason to kind of start thinking through, okay, where are all my photos? And then the other question comes in. So Brian, I hope that helped. I'll have a link to that printer in the show notes, but if you think you're going to buy one, maybe hold off. Maybe we'll do it as a community thing and be kind of fun. What was I going to say? So pictures. Mike, one of the things you don't have to think about, but I have to start thinking about is I've got all these pictures with kids in them, and I want to actually make them available to the kids in a way where they can get access to them too. Well, Google's figured all that out, and now they're doing facial recognition, and you can kind of collect all the pictures that have those faces in them and then share those pictures based with an account on Google. It makes it super easy to share those out. I think I would put them in Google and then tell the kids, come get them. Like, this is your chance. I'm going to have them. I'm going to keep them, but you might want to come grab the ones that you want. Now, if your dad they digitalized your childhood, would you go out and grab your files and bring them in?
Definitely. 100%. Those are actually photos that I actually want on a pretty regular basis, for one reason or another, even to compare to my kiddos, right? Like, so now that I have the kids, I want to compare the child photos, and I would love having an archive of those.
Might also be helpful. I'm going to set a price alert. I'll probably go to Slick Deals and put in some price alerts for some of the equipment like this. Certainly, if 529 is full price, might be 450, 399 on a barn burner kind of deal. Who knows? So if you find it cheaper, if you got a different way to do it, if you want to say, hey Jim, that's a Cadillac, here's another one that would do it pretty well. Again, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Love to kind of start that discussion going around. Mike, I was at Menards the other day. Menards is a local big box hardware store here in the Midwest. I think they're out of Madison, Wisconsin, or something like that. And they, I was going by their clearance aisle and had these big, gigantic wheels that had, that you would attach to some kind of whatever that you want, some kind of cart or whatever. And I thought, oh, these would be perfect for my robot lawnmower.
You still got that on the brain, huh?
I do. Okay. I do. Although I've almost twice now given that mower away to my son. He doesn't have one. And I'm like, dude, replace the battery and it's yours, But yeah, that was one of those things that reminded me, so I don't know. We'll have to get that figured out. Last week, we spent a little bit of time in a conversation with my daughter about Pokemon, and Pokemon has kind of gotten her out of the house, which has been good for her summer here. So she gets out at different times during the day, and we talked about this last week. She goes and hunts it down. But according to The Verge, Pokemon is getting a new cloud service, which is supposed to really help with a lot of the things that they're doing that way. And a game that you play by sleeping, which is kind of interesting. It says in an event billed as a preview to the future of Pokemon, which I don't know if that should ever be a sentence. But anyways, today, Pokemon Company, I didn't know it was a company, revealed a slate of new experiences, including a robust new cloud service and a plan to turn sleeping into entertainment. To start, there's a new game that's launching in 2020 called Pokemon Sleep, where your sleep will impact gameplay. This is kind of super interesting.
We're gamifying everything now.
I know, wow. But this actually may be really good. Like,
okay.
This gamification of sleep. The goal, according to the company, is to give players a reason to look forward to waking up in the morning. The company has also partnered with Nintendo on a new sleep tracking device called the Pokemon Go Plus that will connect to the popular mobile game, which itself will receive gameplay updates designed around sleep and rest. Other than that, there aren't a lot of details on the device just yet, nor the game itself. Interesting. Like I keep hearing, and I mentioned this on Ask the Podcast Coach the other day, and I might have even mentioned in a podcast either this one or 2 times ago, that I've really been intentionally going to bed earlier. Did you remember that conversation? Yeah. Did we have this?
Yeah, and you said how much of an impact it was having on you.
Oh my God. Like it's just different. And nowadays, like last night, I stayed up late. I was goofing around. I got in was it last night, 2 nights ago? I think 2 nights ago. Got in a little email argument with somebody and it really bothered me. And so I had trouble going to sleep, and it was probably 1 before I got in bed. I was up at 6:30, ruined my whole day. Now, since every day had been ruined in the past, like I didn't know any different. I was always going to bed at 1 or 12:30 and waking up at 6 or 6:30. And I just didn't feel any different. And now over the last couple of weeks, as I've been really intentionally trying to get some rest, man, does it make a gigantic difference during the day. My oldest son, Phil, who we should have on the podcast sometime, he is Mr. Responsibility, and he gets super grumpy during the day. If he thinks he's going to get to bed late, he gets really grumpy because he's figured this out too. So it's kind of interesting, and I think not a bad idea to incent, and we're finding in our well-being data at Gallup that sleep is such an important part of recovery. It's such an important part of brain function. It's sort of safety, the way people interact with each other. I mean, it's no surprise when we don't get a lot of sleep, our interactions with each other are terrible. Mike, what do you think about the gamification of sleep?
I love it. I mean, because you and I found out, I don't know if you're still using yours, but for a while there, I was using the sleep tracker and really was trying to, because the way that my sleep tracker did it was the same as the fitness rings on the Apple Watch, but you were filling rings for sleep. And it kind of got me interested in sleeping more and kind of getting that, oh man, okay, well, I didn't close the ring last night. Maybe I could do it tonight kind of thing. And it helped getting a bit early. And you're totally right. It does make a difference. Now with two kids under the age of 3, it's a little harder, right, to get that sleep in. So, but when I can, it feels fantastic. If I could, Hannah and I would be in bed by 8 every night.
It's hard to do it.
It's super hard.
It's
Well,
really
especially
hard,
for
yeah.
guys like you and me, Jim. We love YouTube rabbit holes. We love getting, fixing an issue, right? Something tech breaks, or if we're doing something with crypto, we have stuff that we could stay up literally all night doing if we let ourselves.
Yeah.
You and I kind of have those kind of hobbies. So it's hard for guys like you and me to kind of shut it off and go to bed and be disciplined.
I've been trying to shut it down by 10 each night, and that gets me, and I'm up at 6:30. I don't get in bed at 10, but that gives me that kind of 8. I was in the military with a guy. His name was John Brown, and I never really knew how old John Brown was till I asked him one day. John looked like he was 14. I mean, he was super young. And one day I said, I don't know why we were talking about it. Oh, he would always, I'd be like, hey, you want to go do something? And John, no, I got to go back. I got to go to bed. And one time I was like, dude, it's like 7:30. He's like, I know, but the weekends is when I get my sleep. I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, I try to get 12 or 13 hours on the weekend. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah, during the week, 8 minimum, sometimes 9. I go to bed early. And I said, how old are you? He's like, I'm 30. And he looked, I mean, this is the youngest looking guy I'd ever seen. And I do think that I can't prove this. It's not scientific, but I think you age less when you, right?
We'll think, because there's multiple reasons there. Yeah. He gets more sleep, and yes, I'm sure that does help. But what is he not doing because he's sleeping? He's not out drinking all the time. Drinking ages you. He's not out, doing a bunch of other stuff that ages you. Yeah. I've met a couple people recently who, just don't drink, have never drank, and every single one of them looks 20 years younger than their counterpart, right? So I think that sleeping can lead to have to a bunch of other things, and they're probably a lot more rested, so maybe getting more exercise. Right? Like more sleep is a trigger for a bunch of other probably really good habits for people.
I was using the Sleep Watch app on iPhone. I endorsed it. I paid for it. It was good. It's one of the few apps I actually paid for. Got a lot of great data around it. It was very informative about like, hey, we've noticed over the last couple nights, I would get messages like this. We've noticed over the last couple nights, you sleep better when you go to bed by this time. Well, that's actually the beginning of some really helpful technology in that assistant of it, right? It got me thinking. Now, for whatever reason, I didn't sleep as good with the watch on as I did with it off. You remember I told you at first I was wearing it for a while at night, and it was fine for a while, and then I started feeling uncomfortable with it on. It was a weird thing. It was like I could almost not. It's like I could feel it was on, and it's almost like it was buzzing all the time. It wasn't, don't get me wrong, but it was almost like it was agitating me in my sleep, or I was worried about it, or I was thinking about it. And there was actually a reaction. Like when I would take the watch off at night, I wore it for, I don't know, a month, maybe 2. And when I took the watch off, my, like I would feel like
interesting.
Yeah. The weirdest thing. So I've stopped wearing it. I do wish, and I know there's some apps you can use that I could have my phone there and it would listen, and it kind of gives you some sleep. Have you ever done any of those where it's listening to you, or it's somehow is sensing? Or
yeah, I've done the one where you put it on the corner of your bed and it senses movement in the bed. Okay. It was a lot harder though when you're married and there's 2 of you in the bed, right? Because any movement, it couldn't distinguish between Hannah's movement and my movement. So
Justin says in the chat room, going to bed early, not going out. My childhood punishments are becoming my adult goals.
Right? I feel like we go through this with naps too. Like kids just throw a fit when they have to take a nap. I'm like, how much I would pay to be able to just take a nap in the middle of the workday, be forced to, and like not get to. If I was forced to, my boss said you had to take a nap, I'd be like, I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony says, and definitely don't smoke. Yeah, there's a lot to that as well. So so I've stopped using the sleep app. I canceled the subscription. It was $1.99 a month or something like that for that. But man, what a big difference it is. And so couple things to think of. One is setting a Google alert. If you're in the Google space, you can set an alert You can do the same thing with Siri. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do this. To just remind you, go to bed. Like, hey, it's 10 o'clock. I have a light here. The overhead light is what we call it. So when I talk to the device and tell it to turn off, it turns off. That thing automatically goes off to bed, it goes off to bed. It goes off. It should go off to bed at 12:30. That was one of those things. That was like at one point in time, that was my minimum cutoff. Like, okay, that light goes off. I need to go to bed. Right. I should probably change that to like 10:30 now. That when it goes off, okay, like, dude, don't do this. Go to bed. There are some on the iPhone. There's I think it's in there's is it in the fitness app or there's something? Oh, it's in the time app where you can go in and say, I want to get this much sleep. And it will say, okay, then you need to go to bed at this time. And it'll start reminding you, right, to do those things.
Yep.
I think sleep is one of those areas where this technology can help us the most. Somebody had mentioned in the chat room earlier about trying out those new Bose, those new Bose earbuds.
And I haven't heard of those.
So
sleep pods?
Yeah, the new sleep pods that are out there. I think that's what they're called. And they don't. I'm a little hesitant. They're super expensive. Like I think they're $245 or $300.
Okay.
And they only play sounds to drown out snoring and to drown out other people's snoring or noises, right? Certain frequencies, and it's supposed to be music that's kind of supposed to be in that same snoring frequency. They're supposed to be small enough. I sleep on the side of my head, so they would have to not push into my ear. And I'm skeptical. I got called out last week. Somebody called me out for, I think via Twitter or one of those, for saying that like the noise canceling. I think it was Tony who said the noise canceling earbuds work. Maybe it wasn't, but those work just as well. Because I said no. The only way it works is if you have cans. Like you have to have cans to do noise canceling. Yeah, I don't need earbuds, but I'm not a big believer in noise canceling earbuds. I'm not like
sold.
those. No, I'm not. But if you are, hey, great. Works for you. I'm not buying them. You're not buying them for me. I'm not buying them for you. So however that works. But that could be interesting, Mike, to think about. Could you really get, I would prefer just a white noise. I'm not sure I want to hear rain all night. Although over the last 2 weeks,
that's what we have had. Yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Like typhoon, hail.
It's been
guys,
crazy.
We had so much hail that one of our streets, they literally had to get out the plows because the hail was piled up about 6 inches high. Just so you guys know, it's been a crazy week here in Nebraska.
Other Jim says his company gamified health. We do this, by the way, at Gallup too. And you can earn points for sleeping 7 hours, bonus points for 10 and 20 days in a month. Yeah, and I think we have a very similar thing. We gamify all these different really healthy activities, and you get money at the end of the year to do it, including a physical and going to the dentist. And we have sleep challenges and they have fitness challenges. It's super cool. So, I'm just going to say it, guys. We're not getting enough sleep. And if you're not feeling very good most weeks or even on the weekends, maybe it's time to, get a little more sleep. Like go to bed. Go to bed. It's I was finding I was monkeying around, Mike, with stuff that it could be done another time. It could just be done another time. And so, so get out there and get that done. We had Rich Hay on the program. Geez, it seems like a year ago now. Back in March, as we were talking about the 1903 update for Windows 10. This is going to affect a lot of you, and it's released now. It's not showing up in all the update channels. So you might want to check your PC if you're running Windows 10. And you're on the most current version. 1809 would be the last version available for you. I haven't seen it yet on any of my PCs show up here. They're rolling it out, I think, to known configurations first, and then it'll come out as they know. But Mike, it's that time when we think we had Rich on, and I thought, tonight it might be a really might be interesting to kind of run through those update features again, to kind of think through, like, what's coming. This is going to be the week. You can go force it to download. There's plenty of ways to do that. So if you want to get it done, I'm not going to do that. I have my Surface Pro is running the skip ahead, or no, that's not what they call it, the fast ring. And so I've been on 1809 for a while now with that. I'm sorry, 1903. But Mike, a few things coming, and we're going to talk about this in the context of some of the updates as well as what's going on around it. And one of them is a new light theme. But I wanted to ask you this, Mike. Does it seem like every app has gotten a dark theme now? Or have you sensed that? Like dark theme is everywhere?
Especially in the Apple ecosystem. It was just that big push, right? That was their big marketing feature, was dark mode. And then all the apps had to kind of update. So they had their own dark mode. You noticed quick the apps that didn't, because you were in dark mode and all of a sudden you'd open an app and it was like blinding because they didn't have a dark mode. So dark mode has definitely been the trend.
It is kind of nice. I
enjoy it. I run it on mine.
Yeah, I've been running Discord on the dark mode, which is super cool. I flipped over Twitter. Has really updated their app, by the way. If you use the twitter.com, just their regular app, I think they've made it more mobile responsive. They have a dark mode. I turned it on. I had trouble reading. I mean, I was like, this is going to take me.
Turn on the light mode?
This is going to take me. No, it was on light. It was fine.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm used to reading it on. I'm not sure it's the dark mode. I just think it was because it's a different mode.
Yeah. I have mine. So on the Mac, you can have it gradually change throughout the day. So that's what mine does. So it starts out in light mode, and gradually as we start to get the background on the desktop changes, and then it'll switch over to night mode for you.
Gradually changing to night mode. What is this wizardry that they do on a Mac? Holy cow. So certainly light and dark modes are everything now. A lot of folks are doing that. Very interesting feature that's coming with this as well. It's called a Windows Sandbox, which is kind of one I've been testing on the Surface Pro. Pretty cool. Basically, what it does for you is just create a sandbox environment of another Windows instance that you can bring up. Doesn't save state, goes away as soon as you close it, takes a little while to spin up, uses a bunch of RAM to get it done. It used to be a feature, and I think it's only on Pro. It's only available on Windows 10 Pro right now, Pro and Enterprise and some of those. But it really is designed at people like, hey, I want to spin something up here pretty quick. I would not necessarily run Sandbox on a low-end computer. It's just you get what you pay for. Really designed for a bigger box that's got ample RAM.
Is it like an application while you're running your standard installation of Windows, or is it almost like a dual boot where you can boot it up into a Sandbox?
No, it's definitely an application box.
It's an application box. It's just like launching what do you call it? I'm forgetting the name of the app that you can run to run VMs.
Hyper-V.
Yeah, like Hyper-V or something like that.
Yeah, built on Hyper-V technology. It's just a quick way. There are many people that the feedback they were getting was many people wanted to be able to say, hey, I want to try something out. I just want to spin up an instance of Windows. I want to run it on there. And if it destroys it, then I can just close it and everything goes away. Pretty quick. It can only run on a PC that has the virtualization technology, which are most PCs now.
Yeah, any modern CPU.
Yeah, lower end ones though, you're going to struggle with it. So you want to make sure that's available there as well. And like I said, somehow Windows in the old, we used to say a minimum of 4, and now it's kind of requiring almost a minimum of 8 gig of RAM on your box to really run well. Most of that is because of Chrome. I'm not going to lie. Like when I close Chrome, everything, I get a whole bunch of memory back, which is super interesting that we used to rip on IE for that. And now Edge is pretty efficient, although it won't be as this isn't part of the updates, but if you haven't been following along, Edge will take on Chrome as its rendering engine.
Yeah,
here.
It's going to be pretty much a Chromium build.
Yeah, they're calling it Credge, and it's going to have the same memory problems. So these browsers have gotten pretty big. So Windows Sandbox, I think for my audience, for our audience here, Mike, that's probably the most interesting update that's coming to Windows 10 for some of the things that we do. Of course, as soon as you say it goes away when you're done, you want to keep it. You're like, oh, because I don't want this thing to spin up. It literally has to spin up and install each time you do it. Now they've shortened it up, but It's basically installing a new instance of Windows when you open this thing up. And most people are like, "Oh, I just want to. Can I just keep it?" Well, no, it's not what it's. That's not what it's intended for. Another fix or another change that's coming with 1903, you can uninstall more of the built-in apps. So a lot of folks, when they installed Windows, there's just a ton of crap. There's still a bunch of crap that comes with it, games and even some of the helpful apps that come with it. Not everybody wants, and I think Microsoft is moving in that direction to do more and more options to uninstall whatever you want for the most part. Like get it down to the bare kind of the bare bones. Mike, you're coming from the Mac side as you think about Windows. Are you a guy when you install Windows, you just start deleting things right away that came with it, or how do you handle your Windows installs?
Well, you got to remember. So for me, Windows are very, limited purpose machines around my house. They're not my daily driver. So it doesn't bother me to leave all that in there because usually it's my Sighthound box, right? It just sits in my rack, runs Windows and runs Sighthound Auto. I never actually interact with the machine. Same thing with like a VM I have on Unraid, used for very limited purpose. I fire it up every once in a while. So no, I don't delete through things. Usually it's just get it up and running, get what I need installed on it, and go from there.
Okay.
But again,
Yeah.
I'm a very edge use case type of person for Windows.
Well, I don't delete anything either. I'm not a minimalist until I'm having problems. And then I'm sitting around thinking, okay, I'm going to clean some stuff up. Those applications are not that big. So it's not like you're saving space in a lot of cases by deleting them.
Right.
Just clean some stuff up in the start menu and some of those other kinds of things. So it is, Justin says you can create a stripped ISO. Yeah, you can do that as well. There's a lot of ways. To get that done if you want to install it and have it kind of stripped down to begin with. There's a lot of tricks that you can do there. Also coming, 1903, Cortana and Search are now separated. So they put those together for a couple, 4 or 5 versions ago, kind of put them together where now if you look down there, Cortana is part of the search, and this is type here to search, and little Cortana circle is there. 1903, that is completely moved out now, is completely separate, and you have some new options. Search gets really a new interesting look where if you click into it, and this has actually been kind of coming this way with some of even the versions of 1809, but you get some search apps, files, web results, and more, and they're putting the most used things in that search bar for you. So some updates coming. I think they're still kind of monkeying around exactly with that to figure out what do people want. I just liked it when you hit the Windows key and just started typing. That was my favorite way to do search. Certainly ways to do that. They're cleaning up the start menu, and there's some changes being done to that. There's now a new, if you go into and this is kind of cool, especially if you're on a laptop, finding the brightness slider is a lot easier. So if you just pop over into the don't know what the name of that thing is in the bottom right hand corner, there is a brightness slider. So if you want to make it brighter or less brighter, you can get that thing done. One of the things that Ian Dixon has been covering, and of course Ian Dixon is important because Ian Dixon got Dave McCabe, or Dave McCabe looked at Ian a lot in the early days of podcasting. And then I looked at Dave, so he's kind of like my grandfather, which is kind of weird. But Ian Dixon has been spending a lot of time in the mixed reality space, and so there are some desktop apps for Windows Mixed Reality that is coming with this. And Microsoft has made some significant changes in the last year in the way they're approaching mixed reality. And I think we saw, as an example, we thought 3D Paint was coming and was going to replace Paint as an option or as a program. And there was a bunch of mixed reality built into that. The whole community went, well, you can't really do that. And they're like, oh, we're just kidding. We're not going to do that. Paint's going to stay. But Microsoft has made some changes into their thoughts about, because Mike, I don't think mixed reality or even virtual reality has taken off for the average guy like people thought it would. Don't you think?
I don't think so either. No. We're maybe in the gaming space as you start to look at like PlayStation's VR offering, maybe in some of those very limited instances, but no, a special mixed reality, definitely not. VR, maybe. So we'll see.
Yeah. So I still think we're a ways from VR working. I think it's going to take a completely different look at VR for it to work. I do think, by the way, we're going to live in a world 20 years from now where VR, AR, mixed reality, whatever you want to call it, is gonna play a big part of what we do. I do think it's coming. I think there's devices or experiences. I'm not sure it's things we wear. I think it's gonna be it's gonna be on the walls. It's gonna be built into. I mean, people are going to have mixed reality spaces where you come into them and things happen. Think of the holodeck on Star Trek. Not exactly like that. I'm not sure. Maybe someday. But I'm not sure glasses or a glasses experience are going to be, at least initially, where we really experience VR or mixed reality or any of those kinds of things. So I think it's coming. Microsoft wants to be a player in that space with the HoloLens and some of those other things that they're kind of working with, but we're starting to see more desktop apps for mixed reality in there as well. I think a big change, and Kyle will appreciate this. Kyle Wilcox got super mad one time when his wife's computer updated and rebooted, and he was like, I told that thing not to. He was super mad in our Facebook group. And Kyle, I totally understand and appreciate your anger on that. But Windows updates now let you pause updates. Now it's not perfect, and I think it's not as long as people would want, but I do see a move for Microsoft changing to more options on updates and less. So in the home version, for most people, you got no options. It was updating. You couldn't delay it. You couldn't and once you searched for it, it was happening. Like, it was probably the most aggressive update thing I've ever seen. The good news is, I think for most people, Microsoft's moving away from that kind of methodology of forced updates. Good and bad, Mike. I mean, I can think of a lot of scenarios. If you give people the option to never update, I think they're going to take it, don't you think?
And not even because I don't think they see it as an option. They just don't think about updating, right? Like most people don't. So you're right. If you give them the ability to never update by never giving them any reminders or never forcing it upon them, they're not going to update.
Yeah. And there's some of us, even in my generation, where they lived through a day when Microsoft hosed a couple updates pretty bad. And they're like, you know what? I'm not going to ever do it. It works. I want to shut it off. I'll be safe. I'll do things my way. And I don't know if that's a good world. This reaction of the hyper update world that we live in now is actually a reaction to all those security problems that they had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And Microsoft, like, never again, never again. And when they went from Windows 7 to Windows 8, there was a lot of a whole regime that started at Microsoft to say, we want to be a mobile, like nobody, like you have most of the time, iPhone might be a little bit different. With Android, it updates pretty frequently. And the apps update pretty frequently. There's kind of one of those things, we should be able to update. I hope Microsoft is moving back to a once annual with one kind of fit and finish update that's opposite of the main update. That seems to be, if you think about your iPhone, pretty much once a year on updates, don't you think, for a major OS, or is it twice on the iPhone?
For the major or for the dot updates? Quite a few dot updates. I would say you get 3 throughout the year, 3 dots with one major. So we get a point release. Major release and the point releases throughout the year.
Yeah, Justin is mentioning the 1809 update, which deleted files. That was very true. And so again, folks have been burned by this, and so they're like, I'm just going to leave these things, leave these things off. We're going to talk a little bit later in the show. I've been kind of doing a lot of work in LastPass, and we're going to talk about that here. But Microsoft is making major improvements in their ability for a passwordless Microsoft account, whether that's coming in on a fingerprint reader or a Windows Hello device, which, by the way, I thought every camera on the planet would be Windows Hello capable now, and it's not. Like, that is just not when I say Windows Hello, it's facial recognition, right? It just looks at you.
And they're not all compatible, huh?
No, well, I thought every webcam and every camera built
I would have thought so too.
No, you have to have a special. Still, you have to have kind of a special camera to make it work. Many of the newer high-end laptops have them built in. There's just a handful of webcams that work.
Does like a C920 work?
No.
Really?
It does not. No.
What more does it need? I mean, I think of a C920 as a pretty high quality camera.
Apparently it needs some depth analysis to it. So it's going to need, I think that it needs multiple cameras and maybe able to sense some heat in there, something like that. Currently, it says you can create a Microsoft account without a password by simply entering a phone number as your username and a code that will be sent to your mobile number to initiate a login. Once Windows 10 is logged in, you can then use Windows Hello or even a PIN to log into your PC. By the way, a PIN is a great way to do it, and that PIN is tied to the device. So it's not like a password. It's got to be a PIN you used on that device. And if you have two-factor turned on, it sends a message to the phone that says, "Hey, I'm logging in. Will you validate this login?" It's kind of messy still. I mean, passwords are still kind of messy.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Totally. Because I know you've been doing a lot of work in LastPass. It's so funny you say that because I've been doing a lot of pass in Bitwarden.
Really?
Yeah. Love it.
What kind of drove that? What's been driving you to that work?
Mainly because I have it now on all my machines. It works great. And to be honest, I had just never spent the so I switched from LastPass to Bitwarden. No really rhyme or reason. They're both very similar. I had just never taken the time to input stuff in Bitwarden. But so I got on this kick lately. So Nextcloud, Jim, I've mentioned Nextcloud, I think, on every single episode for the past 2 months. I just love it. And I can't get enough. And Hannah has totally bought in. We are on Nextcloud for all of our stuff. And we've been really utilizing shared folders, shared calendars, everything like that. So now I'm like, okay, man, that was really a game changer. Once we both committed and got onto one platform, we started sharing stuff with each other and we can share recipe books and things like that. I'm like, well, password manager, it has this ability. I just never got into it. So I started really just diving in heavy to organizing my passwords, putting in credit card information, putting in each of us as a contact with our social security number, things like that with, because it's secure. It's locked down, it's encrypted. So I trust it. And with my instance of Bitwarden, it's actually internally hosted. So it's hosted in my home. It's not hosted in the cloud anywhere. So I just got really into this sharing passwords, sharing everything, and getting it all set up for Hannah and I to really just be more efficient. We were going through doing some applications for some things together that we're doing, some bank stuff. And I was like, man, it would just be so much easier because she was always asking me the password. And so after about the third time, I'm like, you know what? We need to take advantage of the technology we have and fully utilize it. So that was really what drove it for me. But what about you with all your work in LastPass?
Yeah, well, it was driven by, I did the health screening, and I got an email. What kind of prompted is I got an email about, which account was it? It doesn't really matter. I got one of those emails that says, "Hey, someone's logged into your," we'll call it Uber. Somebody logged into your Uber account in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, oh,
I got that with Twitch recently.
Maybe
my Twitch account was getting logged in from like everywhere, which was odd because I have two-factor turned on. So I have no idea if it was a glitch with Twitch, but for about 2 weeks there, I was getting a bunch of emails saying it was, but I'm like, I have two-factor turned on. Super weird. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you said Twitch. I just couldn't remember which one it was. And I went.
That's weird that we both got hit with that.
I went into the history. I'm like, okay, did somebody buy things? Like, what can
and that's
what
what I
really do?
Nothing, right?
Like, what can you really do in Twitch?
I changed my stream key so they couldn't stream from that account because they could go in and they could get your key. And if they plug it into any app, then they have the key. They never need to log into your account again. They could always stream to it.
Yeah.
So I reset the stream key.
I checked my gamer scores, like maybe was somebody gaming and did I get some extra points or something or get some of that. Your Bitwarden, they have a free account and a premium at $10 a year. So very, very similar to LastPass from that.
Or you could self-host it.
Okay. And
so I run it in a Docker on Unraid.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. And so you don't pay the premium. You take the premium services and host them yourself. Hey, $10 a year, Mike, to be honest. That's so cheap.
Like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think both. So I got that Twitch notification and then I was like, oh. And then I was like, I wonder. So I went and ran the security thing. And then I really started digging in and looking at like, all right, how many passwords am I reusing? By the way, many of the passwords I had been reusing were part of a compromised password not long ago. In other words, hey, this password that you have hashed in there is showing up in other places. And I was like, okay. So one, I got to stop using that password. It kind of becomes the one when I set up a new account, it's kind of the one I use and to determine, am I going to use this account or not?
I have the same thing. Yep.
It just doesn't get changed from time
Right.
to time. It's something had gotten compromised and it showed up in some places. And so it was, I thought, I need to just lock this down. It's like 72%. So I spent the last couple nights this week staying up late, going back to our sleep conversation and going through, and it's no small task. I have 900 different things in there
Wow.
that it's keeping track of. The other thing it did is it caused me to rethink, like, how many accounts do I have on things? And do I just need to close some of them? Like, I started some social things 3 or 4 years ago that I just don't use anymore. And they don't need to be there. And so if I can log in and close them, awesome. Many of the services like Clamor, we talked about Clamor as a service, actually don't go to clamor.com because it's been hacked. And you'll get that. This is Microsoft telling you to call us at, really loud you have viruses and malware on your computer. So you can start finding these things and just start kind of cleaning up your digital space. What do you have? Where's it at? It's like for me, I need to go through my credit card statement too and be like, how many subscription services have I forgotten about that are out there? They don't need to be running anymore. Probably like Plex, just to be honest. And so, yeah, and other gyms saying a big Docker break in announcement this week. Yeah, there was a Docker insecurity issue, and I can't remember what it is now, but yeah, Mike, it was just one of those things to start. Like, I've been using LastPass for 7 years, and I was like, okay, I need to clean some of this stuff out.
Right.
The other thing I want to do is start moving some of my 2-factor onto LastPass because it backs it up. Like this is what you like, right?
I still use LastPass for the authenticator.
Yeah. The multi-factor authenticator gets backed up. And so if something happens to your phone, you install the app, it's there again.
Yeah.
And you don't have to redo all those again. I probably have a dozen, and a bunch of them are crypto 2-factors that are sitting in the Google authenticator that that's not backed up, right? Or is it? Do you know?
It's backed up from your iOS backup.
Okay.
So when you do a backup to the cloud, it does back up that. But if you were to switch to Android, or if you were to lose your phone and not do if you didn't restore from a backup, you're going to lose it.
Yeah. So one of the other steps I'm going to be doing is going to each of those sites. Another good reason, like I said, many of them are crypto that I'm not even sure they're working anymore, but do I still want to be here? And do I just need to close this down? If I'm not going to use this anymore, can I deactivate the account and then kind of wipe that out? So I imagine for you, the other thing I need to kind of practice is the reason I have the premium for LastPass is if I die. Okay, so can Sarah get to my stuff? And is that all set up? And is that working? And does she know what to do? And
that was a big reason for us.
Yeah.
Same thing was Hannah would not have had access to any of those accounts without my list of passwords.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something worth practicing. I've mentioned before, I've got this kind of death book that has instructions on what to do with life insurance and some of those other kinds of things. We've been spending time, I get as part of our EAP service, we get the ability to use Quicken's Will Maker. And so it's been 15 years since we've done a will. So it's probably time to do that. We went through 2 questions and they were so difficult to answer. We haven't come back to them yet. So we need to, it's one of those mental things. You don't really want to think about this. So you kind of just stop thinking about it. We've got some things to do. So Justin says he's found it incredibly hard to close accounts. It seems that with most providers, they don't seem to have that option without emailing them. And Justin, I find that very, very true. Like, these services have not been made to leave. Google's a little bit different. Facebook's a little bit different because they've been forced. Microsoft too. If you want to get your data back out of there and close them, they've made it easy. But that's only because they've been kind of forced to do that. Right. Some of the smaller ones, not so much. It does. It takes a while. Shoot, I found with some of the accounts, it was hard to find even where to change your password. and I found one I couldn't. Like,
And
like
try
guys,
try canceling a subscription to a newspaper. That's impossible.
yeah. So Mike, I think whether it's a Bitwarden or a RoboForm or a LastPass or a 1Password, I think we're at parity. Just to be honest, I don't know if there's anything better than anything
I don't
else.
think there is either.
Yeah, you need to be using something.
If
right?
you're paying a lot though for that's one thing I've noticed. Some
Yeah.
have still kept up with a pretty high price. Maybe think about switching to, because now it's kind of become commoditized, where that you shouldn't be paying much for your password manager.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's some chat going on. Getting things closed where you can't. If they won't stop charging you, you can call Visa, MasterCard, whatever, your card and say, hey, would you block that from coming in? They'll block it as fraud at that point. And depends what country you're in, by the way, and the service you have and the credit card service. So, your results might vary, but that could be another option too, if you need to get things kind of cut off. Mike, not a bad idea to go through and kind of review your kind of what you're doing from a password standpoint, since we're no longer sponsored by LastPass, and so this isn't a commercial for them because they sponsor us. No, it's just something I use. We don't have Amber on her. She used to scare the bejesus out of me every time she was here. Right. And then I'd spend the weekend uploading the podcast and changing all my passwords. We haven't had her on in a while. So
I haven't changed my passwords.
Yeah, I have exactly. Yeah. So if you're not doing it, get it done. One of the stories we skipped just real quick as we think about the Windows, two quick Windows things. We got so excited about passwords, we went right to it. One is that now you can, if you're on iOS and you have the Microsoft Excel app installed on there, you can take a picture of a spreadsheet and it imports it in as a spreadsheet, which I think is pretty cool. Like, now, most spreadsheets they don't fit all on one screen. Like, I don't know how super practical this will be, but that's kind of cool, don't you think?
At least it gives you a starting point, right? So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I thought that was super cool. And then Brian alerted me to this in the Facebook group this week, that Bitcoin officially mainstream now as Microsoft adds Excel currency as an option. Woohoo, we're official, Mike. Woo-hoo.
All right, finally, about time we become official.
I was wondering, I was using just dollars or I was using BTC. Now in Excel, I can just make all the millions in Bitcoin that I've lost available in Excel. And so super cool. Brian, thanks for posting that in the Facebook group. Appreciate that piece as well. Always good to hear from you guys out there. One of the things we say on the podcast is news, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. It's one of the things I say every single week as we do this 404 times. We've said it. We like to spend some time. Tonight was one of those examples. Mike, behind the scenes, we kind of got here and went, what are we going to talk about? Now we made it. Like, we made it, right?
We always do.
We made it. But we got to the night and I was like, and I started looking for some material to pull out of what we call conversation. That's in our notes, that shows up as conversation, is stuff we want to bring in from you. And Brian, thank you for your input on both the Bitcoin and this, talking about this printer idea, or this scanner idea that's out there. I'd love to have more of that from you. So don't forget, it's gotten a little quiet. Crickets, #crickets. If you'd like us to talk about some things, if you want to bring it in, I want to bring it into the show. Either drop that into the show. We have a Home Gadget Geeks channel. Is that what we call it in Discord? Is it called the channel?
Server.
Well, no, the actual hashtag.
Oh, those are channels. Yes.
Channels. We have a Home Gadget Geeks channel. Or if you put it in the general channel and it's asking a question, we'll bring it into the show. Same thing on the Facebook group. So averageguy.tv/Discord, averageguy.tv/Facebook, get you to either one of those groups. You can do either or. We'll keep that. I'm not going to ditch either one. They both are doing very, very well. And we appreciate you guys getting it done. Mike, anything else that you've had a non-tech week? And I kind of did too, but anything else I missed?
I have no, not this week, but I'm actually getting excited. WWDC is this coming week, so we'll have that's Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, and so while we will have some announcements next week, maybe we'll cover some of the what Apple has released, what they've talked about. They've now changed that where WWDC they used to put out some hardware announcements, but now they are strictly developer focused, and I think that seems to be a trend now with Google and Microsoft doing the same things. They're actually gone back to their developer conferences being developer conferences, not focusing on a lot of flashy hardware, not doing that. It's truly for developers and the software. But we'll get a sneak peek at the next iOS release, and we'll see what's to come with the Apple. So I'm excited for that. So my next week will be probably more tech focused.
Yeah, you going into summer. Summer's changed. Kids are home. Any new technology you're thinking about installing? Any new home automation stuff that you're looking forward to? Any kind of new stuff there?
In the garage, I need to figure out the garage door opener situation. With summer meaning more road trips, being gone more, in and out of the house, figuring out something there, and getting a solution that actually works well. I do want to be able to open and close it. So I just need to. It's been a while since I've looked at that space on now what the current lineup of offering is for the garage door. Other than that, Jim, it's a lot of YouTube because summer is my time to get projects done. And so it's YouTubing how to fix XYZ or how to do this. I have a section of fence that I need to fix. The owner before me had cut out a piece so he could fit his lawnmower through it. Well, now he cut it so thin that the post ended up just snapping. And so a little part of my fence is leaning a little too far for my liking. So having to do projects like that, right? Getting out in the summertime and getting that stuff fixed.
One of the things I tried, so on my birthday, this is stupid, but I did it anyway. That Sunday morning, I had some time, so I went out and I started replacing we have some stairs in the front of the house, and we have a railing that's 20 years old, maybe more. Let's say it's 22. And as I was taking it apart, I realized the only thing that was holding it together was one post and the railing itself. Like the two of the three had broken completely off and were leaning over.
Okay.
And I had put wedges in there because they had leaned over and leaned in. I put wedges
gradually.
It was a mess. Concrete. It was awful. So Sunday morning, I went down, pulled them out. Fortunately, the guy who did the work before didn't use very much concrete, which is always great. Like you hate pulling out posts when they got a lot of concrete on them.
Oh yeah.
So pulled the post, got some things done, did some math, got some things organized. It's on a hill, so you got angles. And now multiple angles. I got to get the posts lined up straight. I got to get them evenly spread out. I got to do some things to make it look good. So I get all that done. And I tried the new foam for post hole setting. Have you?
No, yeah, this is gonna be a lifesaver though, because I need this.
Okay, so this could save you. So it's a little more expensive. You can probably get 2 bags of concrete. If you're doing a post, it's probably going to take 2 bags of concrete. That's like 7 cents. Like concrete's super cheap, right? Okay. For a big 5-pound bag. It's not terribly expensive. It's probably $3. Let's just do Menards. So you're in $6 for a little bit of concrete at worst. This is 11, so a little more expensive, but still, it's $11.
Okay.
It's $11.
What's the process here?
So it comes in two. It comes in two. The bags are connected, but it has a plastic roll, a long, just a roller thing, okay, and then a clip over it that keeps the two sides separate, right? So when you pull that off, put it down. I lay it on the fence. You can roll it over the fence. You can to mix it up. I just put it on top of the railings and smooshed it around for 30 seconds until all that stuff got mixed up. Then no tools, peel the corner off, pour it into the hole, and back away. And it starts foaming. I mean, it's closed cell foam. So it's not letting off a lot of gas or a lot of those kinds of things.
Okay.
And over the course of about 10 minutes, it fully forms, fills up the hole. The hard part is you don't exactly know, like based on hole size, and like you can't predict if the foam is going to come out of the hole or is going to stay in the hole, right?
The type of foam that you could, trim it off though if you need.
No, totally. Okay. Yeah, just a regular saw. So I had a hole where I way overshot. I put way too much in. So I just took a little handsaw, cut that stuff around the hole down to what I wanted to do, and it looked great. Those posts are as secure. Like when you grab them, you cannot tell it's foam. You're thinking like seriously, can foam really hold these posts in?
Exactly. Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah,
And
it's
it doesn't move, huh?
for a fence.
And even after rain and water and
It's rained a bunch of times. It does not, it doesn't absorb the water, and the dirt goes right over it. No problem. It packs down well. It fits, fits around things. It'll fill in voids if you have them. I'm sold. I'm never going to do a concrete post. The other thing they advertise on the box is that it'll waterproof around the wood. So today, if you put concrete in a post, that concrete and that wood react, and that wood rots faster.
okay.
When you do that, especially the treated stuff. This kind of waterproofs that wood, and so you probably have less rot around that piece than you would if it was concreted in. So I put rock on the bottom. I have some pea gravel that I put on the bottom, put the things down, got them where I wanted, put some, I kind of made some holders that held the post exactly where I wanted it, plumb on both sides, right in the right spot. I kind of made that.
Yeah.
And then fill it up, walk away.
I think I've got my weekend project.
Dude, it's pretty good.
Gave me, maybe I'll wait till it dries out a little bit here, but
I wouldn't even wait.
No.
Well, the only thing about it drying out, of course, that foam is going to expand into whatever spot it is. Wet soil is going to move a little bit more than dry soil would.
Right.
6 to 1, half a dozen to another. I don't think you have to wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's that post. It's slowly, because you're right. It's that concrete. I don't know how much concrete they use though, so that'll be the
dig it out. But you don't have to. You don't have to dig the concrete out. Just pour the foam in around. So dig around the concrete and leave it. Well, I mean, you can take it out if you think. I mean, concrete and wood are not great together, right?
Right.
So if you can get it out, great. If it gets to be a pain in the butt and you're just trying to make that post stand up right again, get a
whole new post. This post, because he cut the post in half. It's a whole reason it's starting to come apart, because he cut at the bottom so he could get his mower in, and now that it's no longer a supportive post, it doesn't work. So need to replace the whole post. And with PD, I have to do it kind of all in one big project, right? Get it all done at once, because he has that doggy door to the back, and I can't have no fence there.
Tony's asking, what's our frost line? Isn't that like 48 inches or something like that? Is it a 4 foot? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Somebody Google Nebraska frost line. I don't know. So I can't speak for winter heaving. This is some of the things you have to think about when you're putting a post in, heaving, those kinds of things going on. Can't speak to that at this point, but dude, talk about super easy. And it's a fence post, for God's sakes. It's not like it's the foundation of my house.
Yeah, exactly.
It was in, it was amazing. So I think that's a home gadget. When you're thinking about kind of new technology to help you put these posts in, I watched some Facebook, or I watched some YouTube videos before I did this. I was like, okay, does this stuff really work? So some mixed reviews on it, and I'm sold now. I'm sold. Like, super easy. And they are in, like, it is like they are not going anywhere. So pretty pumped about that. Give it a try. If you're doing a quick repair, it's super easy to get that done. So pretty cool. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at the averageguy.tv live. A couple reminders before you go. Don't forget, talked early in the show about if you're interested in this kind of community thing on a very expensive scanner. Let me know, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. Or if you got better options, you've got something, maybe you've got something, let me know, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. If you want to join the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Facebook group, it'd be theaverageguy.tv/Facebook. Easy way to get there. Jim at theaverageguy.tv. If you want to send me that email, don't forget theaverageguy.tv platform, web and media hosting powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and trust. Of course, that's Christian. And so get more information. Plans start as little as $10 a site, maplegrovepartners.com. That's a monthly subscription out there as well. And don't forget, you can download the mobile app. Thanks to all those on Patreon. We had a new Patreon subscriber this week, and I always appreciate you guys when you do that. You don't have to, but in this case, kind of helps do things like buy printers if that's what we're going to do as a community group. So appreciate you getting that done, and thanks for doing that as well. Mike, tonight I came home and Samantha was HelloFreshing it in the kitchen by herself. And I said, so I pop in the kitchen like I always do. What do you need help with? And she goes, got it.
You're like, yes,
the whole
that's
thing?
what I love to hear.
Like the whole thing, you know what? She's like, I got this whole thing. I'm like, you doing it by yourself? Yeah. And so she says, tonight the sous chef became the chef. And I was like, nice. And again, it's just the gift for us. It's just the gift that keeps giving. I cannot tell you how great it's been just to have these options. Like we've done this, at first it was just kind of like, so Sarah and I would have food. Like we would actually cook a meal, and it was because it was looking pretty bleak. And as we've done this, we've had, we've expanded the meals they've given us. We've used those cards again and made our own meals. It's been super great, and it's worked really, really well for us. So if you're struggling with that and that area meal planning again, just let me know. Jim@theaverageguy.tv. I'll ship you out a code. Get your free week, a whole free week. I'll make anything off this, but it's been so great for us. We appreciate it. We're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central. Stay around for a smidge of crypto. Even though we seem to jinx it every Thursday. Mike, I got a strategy for that. So
Okay.
that'll be in the Crypto Post Show. So if you're listening live, don't go anywhere. I've got some secrets. I got some crypto secrets for you. And we'd love to have you hang around. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.